This is Brick Wall Cinema with your host, Chance the Riot. And on today's episode, I have guest Sergio, and we'll be watching the Brady Bunch movie and Migration. So, Sergio, let's talk about the Brady Bunch movie, starring Shelley Long and Gary Cole, directed by Betty Thomas, written by Sherman Schwartz, Lawrence Elway, and Rick Cobb. So, what do you think of the Brady Bunch movie, Sergio?
To be honest, very cheesy. Although it is like very entertaining to see like the Brady Bunch like act the same way they did in the 60s, but now in these days, them being completely clueless about everything else. I found that hilarious. But also there were certain times when they acted the way they did back in the 60s, I just found like very it's another word for cringe, but I don't know. I've just cringed at those scenes. I'm not sure if it's just because of my natural like my natural like I just really don't like being at the center of the center of the attention. So I guess that kind of seems like they kind of make me feel uncomfortable, I guess. Do you ever get something like that?
Yeah, I get you. When I first saw it, I thought it was hilarious, and I still think it's really, really good. I haven't grown up watching the original show, so I'm not really familiar. I'm familiar with the basic, but not like running joke and like guest appearances that were in the movie. I know a couple of them, but I bet there are a bunch I missed in the background. And it does a good job having a middle ground where you don't need to know the main show that it's based off of. Just need to understand these are families. This is a family from the 70s that's just put in the 90s out of nowhere. Don't explain it.
True, but if you don't know the show, you would miss a lot of like references to the show and things that happen in the show that are actually brought back to in the movie.
True, but does it hinder your experience watching it?
Yes, it depends on what you see because it was entertaining. However, there were some things they did that I just didn't understand, probably because I didn't actually watch the show or anything from the 60s of that era, so I didn't understand their behavior during this time.
This is the 70s.
Exactly.
I also thought it was funny seeing the hardcore 90s everywhere else around surrounding them, but yet they're in their fine fake grass setting and playing potato sack races out in their yard while the neighbors are figuring like what is wrong with them? They have 9 people in their house, but only one bathroom, but no toilet. I didn't see a toilet in there, and I think that was a reference to them not having a toilet in the show. I think because in the 70s you weren't allowed to have toilets in bathrooms. Because even back then, when they had a show called I Dream of Jeannie, the genie wasn't allowed to show her belly button.
Mm.
So I think there might be a parallel there.
You mean censoring?
Yeah, censoring. The roles for the show, they did a spot on impression of them for this movie. I think all the characters in the movie did a great job.
Mm.
What about you, Sergio? What do you think?
About the characters?
Yeah.
I can't really speak much on that. Like I said before, none of us have actually seen the Brady Bunch show. You're probably the only one who has seen, even though you only watched one episode, as you told me. But I can't really tell. Mostly because like in the beginning of the movie, I noticed like how some of them felt like it was like supposed they were supposed to act a certain way during the scene, but then I could see them kind of holding back a smile. So I'm not really sure. But they did do a good job of portraying like what a family from the 60s suddenly wait, the 60s or 70s was it?
70s.
70s into the 90s, I suppose. Although I do feel like they exaggerated a bit on what is happening during the 90s because some of the things I kept questioning, is this taking place during the 90s or somewhere back then? Because it felt some of the stuff that was happening around them felt like stuff from a different time era.
This took place in the 90s.
No, I know, but I felt like some of the things that were happening in there around them didn't take place during the 90s. It felt like it took place earlier.
Like what?
Well, when this guy was talking to was it Monica? Is that her name? Or no, wait, no. Is it Morticia or Monica?
Morticia is Adam's family.
Oh,
Me, Marsha.
Marsha. There you go. There you go. I always get confused with those names. But
Marsha,
anyway,
Marsha, Marsha. You should have said it one more time.
yeah, Marsha. When she was with the photographer and he talked about like how she should lose some weight, get her teeth capped, cut her hair, get breast implants, that kind of stuff. Am I allowed to talk about that on here?
Yeah, you're good. It's an explicit show.
All right. It just felt like something that would be done at a different time because, like, you know about Black Dahlia, that crime, that murder mystery about the movie star who was found in the ocean.
No.
Yeah, this takes place during I think, believe like the early days of Hollywood, which was like in the 60s or 50s, where they found this woman who was an actress and she was on a cruise ship. Well, she was on her boyfriend's yacht and she was missing during the night, and when they found her, she was dead floating in the water and no one knows how. And the thing is that she went through a similar situation in her life where she was not allowed to gain weight. She had to lose a lot of weight and she got addicted to diet pills and she was told to look and act a certain way because like that's what how it was. They played a lot to certain stereotypes during those early times in Hollywood. So it just felt like something that it would have been done earlier like in this 1950s, 60s, 70s something. So it didn't really feel like something that was actually in the 90s. Like certain things like that I picked up. It felt like that's not really what's happening in the 90s. It felt like something like us back to some time before. Or maybe it's still something that happens now. I'm just not aware of it. I'm just
It still happens nowadays.
yeah, I know, but I just didn't know it was like that prevalent, or maybe they were just over exaggerating it. I don't know. I felt like that if I felt like that during certain times throughout the movie.
It's honestly, you're not wrong to think that. The way I see it now is sort of like how it's sort of a tamer version of how Barbie had the real world.
Yes, but that real world was more nowadays, basically. Even
Yeah,
though
but
like even though like as we saw on like other podcasts, like that's not actually how people act out in the open, even though it was an over exaggeration of how people are during these days.
right. But it's an over exaggeration of that time period. And that time period in Barbie was 2023, and in the one in Brady Bunch movie, it was in the 90s. It was literally like the mid 90s when it came out. So it's like the movie starts off with a bunch of hardcore music, for the hardcore 90s music, with all these signs showing like gang wars are happening all over LA. Strips of the Hollywood strip with
When they had
people.
picked more like a recent like songs though, because it
Yeah,
feels like rock doesn't really something isn't really something that would really shake you to this because rock was pretty common back then. The only
but
time I can think of is when it was revolutionary to put it into a movie was during the 60s.
rock compared to the Brady Bunch, where it all pop
True,
and rock.
but I guess so. But still, though, it just felt like it was trying to convey a different time period in the 90s. It just felt like it was, even though it was taking place in the 90s, it felt like everything in there was taking reference from further back.
Possibly. To be honest, I can't really speak on that myself. Neither can you. We're both 2000s kids.
True.
So we can only go based on what we learned from history. And I think that they did a great job at setting a time period and where to take place, like the world we're in at this time. Yeah, it's our world, but it's an over exaggeration where everyone's an asshole, where people yell at other kids for playing hopscotch in their front yard.
Wouldn't you get mad if some kid just suddenly turned up in your yard?
No, it matters what the kid's doing at first of all. If
I
he
guess so.
if they're
But I guess
hopscotching, yeah, go ahead, sure, you're not messing with anything. But if they're out here having paper bags full of dog
hang on,
turds
wasn't
in
she
it,
in the
of course
side
I'll be
yard
mad.
though? Wasn't
Huh?
she in like through the drive-through?
Well, yeah, but what's the
I
harm
mean,
in
I wouldn't
doing?
mind if it was like in the yard or maybe like on the sidewalk in front of our house, but if she's headed towards our back garage, then I would question probably that, unless she's my neighbor, of course, and I know her.
She's a
But
neighbor.
but yeah, I get what you're saying because overall, the whole reason why he does that is just because he's an over exaggeration of an asshole neighbor.
Right, right. But also, he got his comeuppance though. They're gonna sue his ass at the end of the movie.
Uh-huh. Do you want to talk about the movie we just saw that came out this weekend, Migration?
Sure, let's talk about Migration.
Another family movie, great for all families of every kind.
Great for all families and ducks. Directed by Benjamin Renner and Giolo Holmesy. Written by Mike White and Benjamin Renner. Starring Kumail Nanjiani and Elizabeth Banks and Danny DeVito. So let's start with first impressions. I'll start. I was really surprised by this movie. It was actually really funny and not like genuine too. I was expecting a lot of pop culture references because it was Illumination and Aquafina's in it. I thought like of course it's gonna be some pop culture references, gonna have minions in it, but it didn't have that for me. What about you?
To be honest, I did not expect any of that. I expected more of like I saw the when I first saw the trailer, it was like, wow, the animation for this is really good. I'm curious to see why they put so much work into this. So I was expecting something maybe like a bit comical, like slapstick kind of family cliched kind of movie. But this one felt kind of refreshing. When we saw the reviews for it, we saw that critics didn't really like it as much as the audiences. But I saw it as kind of like a refreshing kind of feel good kind of family kind of thing where there's no kind of unnecessary exaggeration of family dynamics. It's just a family trying to get through trying to get through like a very new adventure that they go on together.
They
And
did a
throughout the entire movie, they always act like a family.
they did a great job at releasing it now. This is the best time they could have done it. For Christmas, it's a great family movie to take your kids to.
Oh yeah.
And even adults will probably have a good time. Depends on how fine you are watching a kids movie. So like there's not gonna be any hardcore adult jokes in it. So you don't
No.
be expecting that. It's just
But
fun.
I do think adults would actually appreciate like seeing like family like problems that adults have to deal with on the regular when dealing with kids.
Like
Like
what?
such as like remember when a dad got mad at his son for disobeying him as he was trying to help. I feel like every parent goes through that time when they want their kids to listen to them, but the kid wants to do something to help or it ends up getting in the way, that kind of thing.
I agree too, but that sort of gave me Nemo vibes.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure it all can come back to that because Nemo was the first one that did do the kind of thing.
Yeah, but that's a high bar too.
Yes, but I also liked how they portrayed like this the two the Mar the two the mom and dad. It was pretty refreshing because like I'd never seen like a couple like this in an animated movie in a long time.
Wow, we're having a field day just watching happy couples in movies. We just
That's
saw
why I said
this
their
and
names.
Brady Bunch movie. Because I remember when we watched the Brady Bunch movie, you said, "Wow, this is a really happy, healthy family. It is the most healthiest family I've seen on TV, in movies." And I told you this is a movie based off a TV show, so the TV show characters are the ones that you think are really good in the movies.
Yes, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, so it doesn't really count as movie characters. They're mainly TV characters that are in the movie. Back to migration. The animation, I agree with you. It's like the best that Illumination has done so far. Obviously it should be since it's their most recent movie, but it also felt,
They went so hard with the animation that it was mind blowing.
I wouldn't say mind blowing for me. I would say really good because like I think mind blowing. I think Pixar. I and
No, no, no.
like
I'm not talking about like breaking new boundaries or like doing something new with it. I'm just saying like how hard they went with the movie that I didn't really see that much advertisement about. It blew my mind like how much work went into this movie, but yet this movie wasn't expected to be like this, wasn't put up, wasn't hyped up to be this big thing to be look forward to.
okay, I agree with you on that. It because the trailers were not good for this movie. I don't I remember that the trailers just said, "I want to go on a vacation." Okay, we're going on vacation. I didn't know what else the story was gonna be from there because I'm like, what's the depth? What's the reason for this happening? What's pushing the plot forward?
Yeah, and as we saw the movie, there really is nothing pushing them forward besides them just wanting to go on an adventure. When the dad, well, at first, like the dad doesn't want to do anything, but then when he talks to like the uncle, and he realizes that he can't just spend his life just staying in one place, being like that the entire time. He decides, you know what, let's go do something.
Yeah, he literally wakes up his family in the middle of the night saying, "Let's go, let's get out of here." Yeah, fuck Uncle Dan. We'll go out here. We'll go with ourselves.
And I just love the I just love the kids' character because they don't really do much, but they feel like they have their own character. They're not just like background characters pretending to be kids.
Oh yeah, and they didn't do the I hate like hating their parents or anything like that. It's honestly really refreshing. I
Yes.
know it's the family road trip. We're gonna have the same jokes, like not knowing where we're going, getting lost, meeting new characters, a character finding like tracking them down as they go along this road, coming across them all multiple times. We see that in every road trip movie.
Hmm.
And I'm just not saying that this is breaking new ground. I'm just saying that sometimes you just don't need to break new ground. Sometimes you just need to
They really
go with the
played
flow.
well. They really used the cliches and the tropes right in this movie, in this story.
Right. And the comedy on the other hand, it felt like they were trying to do a lot. I mean, not really do a lot, but just go with the flow.
All
And
the jokes felt natural during the situations that were happening on the screen.
yes, even the Aquafina with her characters and seeing her like with her all or the crazy voice in her role as like a little bird named, what was her name again?
Chump.
Chump. Yeah. Her introduction, I was like, oh god, no, she's gonna be yelling and screaming the whole movie. I can't have this. I can't handle this.
But then when she came up, she was actually this very serious character.
Serious character.
Yeah, she was. She did act very serious, although she was a lot in your face, but she was a very funny character, and I actually did like enjoy her character. This is one of her more enjoyable roles that I've seen her in recent times.
What was actually reminding me of now, thinking out loud?
What?
It's reminding me of the rabbit from Secret Life of Pets.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, the one that Kevin Hart plays. Yeah,
yeah.
it oh shit. Did he just do the same thing with him with her?
Do you have a type character?
The what?
Do you have a type?
Do I have a type?
Yeah, a type of character you like.
I don't really have a type of character. I mean, I just like characters. It depends on the role that they're playing and how they play it. I could like a villain in one movie, but also hate another one and hate one in another one, and I might be doing the same thing, but it's just how they execute it. I could have a favorite character in the movie and stuff like that. Like with this movie, I don't even. My favorite character, I think, would have to just be the dad, or not the mom, because she's like. There's a point in the movie where the mom and dad are together. Like she's like the optimist. She's always saying like, "Let's go do this. Let's have fun. Let's go on an adventure." And the dad's always very self isolated and very insecure and make sure everything's safe and fine and would rather stay and do nothing than go out and on a risk. And at one point, I wrote watching them and it reminded me in my head, I'm like, this is Bob and Linda from Bob's Burgers. And I realized, oh my God, this made me love it even more knowing that. Because even at one point, they are about to die and they start hugging each other saying, we're not going to make it. And he's like, oh no, don't say that. You're usually the one that's optimistic. That's exactly what happens in the Bob's Burgers movie when they're about to get killed and they're in their little car and she's like, we're goners. I'm done. It's like, well, you shouldn't do that. If you give up, then I give up, and we can't give up. We cannot do it now. And I just guess I like that dynamic. So I guess yeah, that's why I like her. What about you, Sergio? If you had a favorite character?
I think like I said before when we saw the movie, I think my favorite character is Gwen. I just the smallest, the little sister. She's just adorable and funny at the same time, and I just like seeing her every second she was on screen.
Yeah, let me guess. The moment you liked her the most was when when the killer just got yelled at. He's angry, looking outside, and you see her behind him, about to give him a hug, and won't let go until he feels better.
Yes, because I've been through some pretty down times in my life when I just felt like I was pretty depressed during certain times. And I have a little sister as well, and she would sometimes come up to me and hug me, and it just made me feel all kinds of good. Those were times when I just needed a hug, and she gave me those hugs, and I just felt great after that. So it just gave me like nostalgia, flashbacks, and just of really warm memories.
That's nice, man. I'm an only child, so I don't really have that. Never had that happen to me before, but it seemed genuine, like earnest in the movie too. That's what also I like. Like this movie's not gonna win any wars. Let's just be honest and straightforward. It's not trying to win any wars either.
No, it just seems like well, obviously it came out in December. As you said before, movies that came out later in the year, like during the December, don't really try to win any awards. They're just put out because people wanted to work on it.
No, that's the exact opposite. January, earlier year is when they don't do it. January and August and September, those are dubbing grounds.
Okay.
Because at
So then what would
February and
December
stuff,
be considered?
Oscar nominated ones.
Uh,
Because this December we have like The Color Purple coming out. That's gonna win for best song or best actresses, and they're gonna have Wonka come out for best production design or. This is all from hypotheticals and be guessing, but
I guess so.
and Ferrari with best actor for Adam Driver and best director. So and best supporting actress for Penelope Cruz. February and those early months, they have like superhero movies come out, like Deadpool and Kingsman came out in February. So in summer we got the blockbusters, but that middle ground between summer and winter, dumping ground for Halloween and basically mid movies. With Migration, I would definitely watch this movie again. I'm gonna give this movie 4 stars out of 5. What about you, Sergio? How would you rate this?
Probably a 4.5, something like that.
4.5 out of 5?
Yeah,
Holy crap!
I really enjoyed this movie.
Question. Just a question. What would you rate Wish?
Maybe like a 2 or 3.
2 or 3. Okay. Okay. What about Mario Brothers?
Mario Bros. A definite 4. I'm not really sure if I would give it a 5 because I know there are might be some problems with it, but I just can't think of it mostly because of nostalgia. But I probably give it like probably the same thing, maybe like a 4.5 or a 4, something like that.
And what about Leo?
Leo, maybe more of a 3 because it was a good movie, but it was like very simple, and like I could tell like not a whole lot of work went into it besides the voice acting and the character and movement animation because because like everything just looked like very plain and not very did like a lot of work with it.
Yeah, I can see that. So back to Migration. Our final results are 4 stars for Chance and 4.5 stars for Sergio. Crazy high number in my opinion, but that's not me. I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to judge the movies. Hey everyone, thanks for listening. And be sure to subscribe to our channel and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, and TikTok at Brick Wall Cinema. Have a cinematic day.